This video is going to cover what are all of the best heroes inside Marvel Rivals. We're going to go over a tier list that is compiled of what most of the players are using, but also the #1 picked characters in the by the top 500 players that are playing this game right now. So quick shout out to Marvel Rivals Merchant, who went through all the data for the top 500 players and figured out what are the top most picked players by the best players in the game, essentially. Starting off with the D tier characters, we've got Black Widow, we have Storm, we have Scarlet Witch, and we have Wolverine. Now, all of these characters are the least picked by the top 500 players, but not only that, a lot of players in-game are not using these characters. Now, one major player that I have a slight issue with is Wolverine in particular, and that's because he's such a popular character. Scarlet Witch and Storm are also quite popular as well, but Wolverine is probably one of the most popular Marvel characters in the game, and I do think you should get a bit of a buff. Now, what I do think you should be able to do is that when he deals some damage, he should be able to gain some health back. Because he is a melee only character, I think this would be such a huge buff to Wolverine and making him kind of A or S tier. Moving into C tier, we've got Magic, we have Iron Man, we have Bruce Banner and the Hulk, Star-Lord, and Squirrel Girl. Now, some people have Squirrel Girl higher up on their list, but the rest I do think's fair in the C section. They are not great characters to use, especially the Hulk and Iron Man I'm a bit disappointed with. And then obviously Star-Lord can be decent in certain scenarios, but the other two are just not great anymore. When it comes to Magic though, she actually got a nerf after the beta, and that's just made this character nowhere near as powerful as it used to be. So hopefully we can see a slight buff to that one as well. In B tier, and this is the biggest tier, and that is because a lot of the characters are pretty viable in this game. And as you can see, most of them sit inside this category. So we have Black Panther, we have Penny Parker, Captain America, Thor, Rocket Raccoon, Punisher, Spider-Man, who a lot of people might think might be slightly higher up, but to be honest, he's not. Iron Fist, who could actually kind of be in A tier as well, to be honest. Adam Warlock, who is getting chosen by some of the pro players. Venom, who outputs an absolute ton of damage with his main ability. Winter Soldier, who's quite a popular character right now because you can spam his ultimate. And Moon Knight, who is a solid character, just well-rounded character when it comes to movement, damage, all sorts of things. I think this is a good place for kind of majority of the players or heroes to sit, because not every single one of them is going to be A or S tier, but in the B tier, kind of in that middle section, is where all these characters will be viable if you use them in the correct circumstance. For example, Captain America's shield can pretty much deflect almost all ultimates in the game, which is pretty cool. Moving on into the A tier now, these are getting into some of the kind of more meta characters in the game. And we've got Jeff the Land Shark, which is behind the camera. You can't see that on the tier list there. Solid character, especially when it comes to healers in the game, and he's just a bit of a troll. Cloak and Dagger, if you do know how to use them, they are pretty solid. Some of the kind of top 500 players, the pro players, are using this combination of characters right here. So if you know how to use them well, you can go with them. Next up is Groot. Now Groot, I love Groot in this game. He's pretty much the highest health character for base health in the game. Not only that, his abilities are just so good for blocking off areas, and he's probably one of the best objective blade players in. So that is why I love Groot. His wall abilities are amazing. The next character is Namor. Now Namor doesn't really get talked about too much in this game, but he is getting used by those top 500 players. But not only that, I really enjoy using Namor. I think he's one of the highest damage output players in the game, and I will be covering the stats behind all the duelists in a video. We've already covered all of the Vanguard characters and how much damage they output. If you want to check out our previous video, I'll leave a link at the end of this one. Then we have Magneto, which is my personal favorite character in this game. I think he's one of the most solid, well-rounded characters when it comes to health, when it comes to damage, when it comes to supporting your team. I think overall, one of the better characters in the game. Next up, we've got Hawkeye, which is the best long-range character in the game by far. Obviously, Black Widow is way down the list with a sniper rifle, but Hawkeye is a solid choice when it comes to ranged ability. So if you do want to go long range, he's the best one to use. Getting into the S tier characters now, we have Loki, who I've not really had a ton of playtime with, even though I'm a huge fan of Loki in general. I don't have much playtime with this player, but he is getting picked by those top 500 players. So it's probably for a very good reason. Next up, we have Psylocke, which is kind of more the assassin style players, but not only that, it deals a ton of damage as well. So Psylocke is an absolutely amazing choice if you're trying to get in behind enemy lines. A lot of people tend to use Spider-Man for this reason, but I think Psylocke is actually the better choice for this type of play style. Next up, we have Luna Snow, another strategist. Believe it or not, we've got a lot of strategists in this list, but a lot of people tend to go towards some of the more healing characters just because they do support out the team an absolute ton, and Luna Snow is one of the best at doing that. Next up, we've got Mantis. Now, Mantis, I am not a huge fan of personally, but the pick rate on Mantis is absolutely insane for players that are using it. So I don't know why. Personally, I have tried Mantis out, but I'm not a huge fan whatsoever, so I don't understand it, but she's getting picked an absolute ton. So if you are really good with Mantis, then I suppose then she's a solid character. Second to last, we've got Doctor Strange. Now, Doctor Strange is an absolute solid choice. He's a Vanguard character, so we've covered all of his damage output and values in our previous video. I'll leave that link to the end of this one. Check it out. And for good reason, because his abilities are absolutely insane, to be honest. Shield's really good. The ability to jump into the air and do some damage from above is good. The amount of damage he actually outputs, also, again, really good. So, very, very solid character. I still prefer Magneto personally, but the movement on Doctor Strange is a little bit better as well, so just keep that in mind. Last but not least, we have Hela, and she picked the most in the entire game. And the reason for this, I'll explain in just a moment. But overall, her range attacks are great, and she's got a lot of good abilities that outputs a ton of damage, and that is the reason why she's picked the highest, especially amongst in a pro or the best players in the game. And we will calculate the stats for all the duelists, including Hela, in our future videos, so subscribe for that. Like I said, we've already done the Vanguards, and Hela is just the kind of insanely powerful character when it comes to outputting the most of it damage. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.